Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about President Trump and his latest ally who stepped up to help this country in our dire time of need. I'm of course talking about the MyPillow guy, or more specifically, Mike Lindell, the founder and CEO of the very successful and prevalent pillow-making corporation. As we discussed in our last video about this, the MyPillow guy stepped up last week and pledged to devote 75% of his factory production resources into making medical masks. A very useful commodity which is pretty hard to find now considering this whole health scare has them sold out everywhere. Yes, MyPillow guy had a little meeting and press conference with the president and everything, but as usual, the media found a way to try and ruin and embarrass anyone related to Trump, in this case, Mike L. Despite Lindell literally doing nothing wrong other than being an open supporter of the president, a president the left and the mainstream media don't like. And attacking President Trump and his supporters is one thing, but to do so when said supporter is offering a great thing to help everyone during a natural disaster, well, that's a new low even for the left. Last time we talked more about the big networks and people on Twitter going after MyPillow, but this time, today, we have a special new subject. Nicki Swift is a pop culture and entertainment YouTube channel who we've covered here before on NoBS. They try and seem non-political and centrist most of the time, but every once in a while, a very anti-conservative or anti-Trump video will slip through. For example, last time we covered the channel, Nicki Swift was jumping onto the Chris Pratt hate train a few months back. By now we all know Chris P is our boy, and although he's not too vocal politically, it is pretty clear he's an American-loving, God-fearing, conservative white man who also happens to be straight with a rockin' hot wife to boot. So needless to say, many on the left have tried to go after our guy Chris, including Nicki Swift, who made a shady side of Chris Pratt video that literally had nothing shady in it about him. They were stretching to hate on someone because they disagreed with him politically, and also probably because he has the wrong religion according to them. And this is exactly why they're doing this again now with the MyPillow guy, in light of him getting attention for supporting Trump and pledging to help his country, but they're going to attack him because he's conservative and Christian. The video in question today is called The Dark Truth of the MyPillow Commercial Guy, and since this came out right after he pledged to help our country in this crisis, well, needless to say, it didn't go over too well with Nicki Swift's audience. In fact, Nicki Swift's video did so poorly on YouTube, they decided to delete it just a few days later. Fortunately for us though, I found another copy on their Facebook page, so we can all still see it and go over why it's just so damn bad. So without further ado, let's check this thing out and see why everyone reacted so poorly. So poorly, Nicki Swift had to take back their video in shame. Take a look for yourselves.
Do you wake up feeling tired in the morning? Are those mornings ruined by phantom headaches, stiff neck, and a tingly feeling in your fingertips? If so, you may have spent one too many sleepless nights watching MyPillow infomercials. Who could blame you? After all, they're nearly impossible to avoid. As according to CNBC, MyPillow creator Mike Lindell has spent more than $100 million on them. And it seems to have paid off.
I'm sensing an air of jealousy here already. If MyPillow spent $100 million on those ads, surely they made much more back because of them. Advertising pays, and you can say what you want about those infomercials, but they certainly seem to have worked out for the guy and his company. So regardless of how annoying or prevalent or taxing those commercials may seem, you have to first admit they've been a huge success for MyPillow. And MyPillow is of course an American-founded and based company too, which employs around 1,500 Americans who I'm sure are being taken care of rather handsomely by the company. In addition, I'm going to have to take Nicki Swift to task on that claim that those MyPillow infomercials are impossible to avoid, because I know personally I haven't seen one for years, and I wasn't even trying to avoid them. I, like many others these days, have become a bit of a cord cutter, meaning I don't get my TV from traditional cable or satellite services, which often have gross amounts of advertising, including these infomercials in question. In addition, if you do have those services, most include digital recording options to capture your shows and watch them later now. And this feature also allows you to fast forward through the advertisements. So, needless to say, so far Nicki Swift has been dead wrong about this company beat after beat. Not only are their commercials easily avoidable, they're also not really deserving of scorn since they've done exactly what their job was to do. They brought attention to the company, put MyPillow on the map, and made them all very successful millionaires. The whole reason we're talking about MyPillow today was because that guy advertised so well for years. So despite their presentation and the content of their ads perhaps being boring or off-putting to some, well, that's hardly the best point since they're also paying off for the company and their people in spades. It's also worth mentioning that this company does produce some of the best pillows money can buy, with pretty fair prices too, especially if you get the deals like their 2-for-1 special. And again, it may sound like it, but I am definitely not sponsored or associated with this company in any way, although I'd like to be, because I have used MyPillow myself for years, and it's been one of the best pillows I've ever slept on. And that's also worth pointing out here because it shows that all their ads aren't some sort of scam or trick to get you to waste money on crap products. No, they actually have a very significant and well-made product that's certainly worth the price tag too, especially in this situation because it will help you sleep better, which will make your whole day, week, month, and year better too.
But there's so much more to Lindell's story, like a record-breaking pillow fight, a battle with the Better Business Bureau, and a bromance with President Donald Trump that runs so deep that Lindell joined him in the nation's response to the pandemic. Switch on the nightlight and slide on your reading glasses because you won't get a good night's sleep until you discover the dark truth about the MyPillow commercial guy.
Okay, settle down, lady. First of all, you're leading into your so-called dark side of MyPillow guy a little too hard. I highly doubt you have any good dirt on the guy, and I'm sure you're going to be stretching to attack him because you disagree with him politically, and you don't like his religion, just like what you did with Chris Pratt. But before we even get to that, let's discuss this so-called bromance between Trump and Mike Lindell. They get along, sure, and the MyPillow guy is clearly a God-fearing Trump supporter, but is this really a crime? Nicki Swift ramped up into this like they were saying being friends with the president is a bad thing. It's not. It's a good thing, and presidents are allowed to have associates, and if a president's acquaintances leads to our country getting more support, like how MyPillow is going to be making us masks now, well, that's a good thing. No, actually, let me raise that and say it's a great and amazing thing. That certainly shouldn't cause the media and YouTube channels to freak out like this. I guess no good deed goes unpunished is a good phrase to put here. And that's why, in light of the MyPillow guy offering to help our country in this crisis, Nicki Swift has decided to make some terribly biased attacks against him. Bad timing. And the Trump derangement syndrome has certainly blinded these people so much, they clearly can't see how bad this looks. So let me offer you another example so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's imagine it's 2010 during the Obama presidency, and at that time there actually was another health scare going on that didn't nearly get as much hype in the media as what's happening now, whether it be because this year is an election year or the fact that the press hates the current President Trump. But 2020 and its crisis is all the president's fault, even though this plague came from a foreign source in the Far East. But back to 2010, in that year Obama was getting more than a fair shake during his own health crisis, because he was not only a Democrat but also a black man, at least half black. So in liberals' minds, people like that can do no wrong. Regardless, let's imagine it's 2010 and one of Obama's associates decides to step up with that year's health scare. For argument's sake, let's say that helping person was Jay-Z, the rapper, who also is a close acquaintance with Obama. And if at that time Jay-Z said he would use 75% of his clothing company's resources and factories, and he was going to divert that into producing masks and gloves to help with that outbreak, well, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And I know I would never dream of attacking Jay-Z in that situation, even though I disagree with him and Obama politically, and Jay-Z actually does have a pretty troubled past too, mostly having to do with committing crimes and dealing drugs. But obviously this situation is not the time to bring that up. But that's exactly what Nicki Swift is doing with MyPillow. In this example, they would have turned on Jay-Z and said, hey, we know you're helping in this crisis, but we also know you dealt drugs for years in New York City. And then they would go on to point out every other bad thing Jay-Z did, like cheating on his wife and stuff, at a time where he's trying to help and save lives, which seems completely inappropriate. And that's how bad this current MyPillow guy situation looks in relation to Nicki Swift and the mainstream media. That's why sometimes you just need to reverse roles like this and give an example to see how bad things really are.
According to Lindell's website, the two first met in 2016, and things quickly turned from business to religion, with Lindell telling Trump that he was a divine appointment. Since then, Trump has publicly shilled for MyPillow in his political speeches.
First of all, he does make a great product, great pillows. I actually used them, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Well, I don't know if I agree with the negative way you're saying the president shilled for MyPillow. Sure, he supported the company's leader because Mike Lindell supported him. And then the president admitted he used the pillows and they're very good. And as I've said from experience, this is absolutely true. The pillows are very high quality and I have yet to hear anyone who's tried them say otherwise. So while Nicki Swift is in this video implying there's something wrong or shady going on, there's really not. Really, the president just became friendly with a prominent American businessman who supports what he does. He also likes and uses the product, so the president said at a rally or two, "My pillows are good." And keep in mind, these are President Trump's own personal campaign rallies and support centers, and he has every right to say and support and do whatever he wants there. So with that said, I really don't see the issue, and I don't understand why Nicki Swift is getting so short and upset about things, except of course when you consider the fact that this is all happening because they hate conservatives, Christians, and Trump. That's the real bottom line here, and while they try to frame this and make it into being something objectively wrong or inappropriate, it's really not. The only crime being committed here is a thought crime. Nicki Swift disagrees with conservatives and Christians, so she goes on to make shit up about us and act like we're objectively wrong when really they just don't like us, and it's subjective and they're the ones being terrible.
And the president promoted Lindell and MyPillow again during, of all things, task force briefing in the White House Rose Garden on March 30th, 2020. So what was the thought process here? Well, Lindell and other manufacturers have shifted their processes to produce much-needed personal protective equipment in the effort to prevent the spread of—
Kind of buried the lead there, Nicki. You also answered your own stupid question. And when you present things in an out-of-order way like this, you're obviously trying to make the right look bad by suggesting President Trump promoted MyPillow at an unrelated press conference for no reason. He didn't, though. The president actually thanked MyPillow publicly because they offered us a great amount of help in this time of need. So in my opinion and to many others, that more than justifies Trump giving props to MyPillow at that press conference. MyPillow is making masks to help with the problem the press conference is all about after all. And sure, this is a good look for the company and might help them and even bring them some more sales, but when you spell things out like this full and fairly, they clearly deserve it because they're sacrificing their time and resources to help us combat this foreign and invading problem. What would the alternative to this even be anyway? Are we supposed to accept MyPillow's help and give them no thanks or praise or anything in return? I mean, it's not like they're asking for anything that big. They don't want money or tax breaks or special treatment. All that happened was the president said thank you, and then the MyPillow guy said a few words thanking the president, and boom, that was it. Not a big deal and totally fair and expected for what's happening here, and considering all the help we're getting in return.
He's apparently somewhat of a ladies' man, at least if you're reading the tabloids, which seem to be almost obsessed with this bizarre detail about him. Apparently, the infomercial star was a hot ticket at Trump's 2017 inauguration festivities, and a headline from City Pages alleging the pillow connoisseur was the, quote, hot stud ladies' man of the well-attended event.
Here they're trying to shame the guy for being a ladies' man, I guess. But whatever happened to liberals and leftists being all sex positive and stuff? I thought they were supposed to support coupling and hooking up with whoever you want whenever you want. Well, I guess that's only true if you're a female or a liberal. Another left-wing double standard, I suppose. And later in this segment, Nicki Swift even casually drops in that Mike Lindell is a former addict, which they mention in one of the worst and most exploitative ways possible. I'm not going to even show or repeat that here because I respect the MyPillow guy too much to even give Nicki Swift the pleasure. But basically, the MyPillow guy was an addict in the 1980s and 90s, over 20 years ago. And since 2009, 11 years ago, he's been in successful recovery, which was also the time he started MyPillow, which led him to become a massive success and multimillionaire. Now, with that in mind, really, Mike Lindell should be used as a success story, a good and great and shining example of how people can change and do better, and even become wildly successful and recover later in life. But Nicki Swift instead chose to drop this in as a dig at the guy, and they're shaming him because to them, conservatives and Christians can just never change, and we're always evil. And if we did anything bad in our past, we will never hear the end of it, and it gets held against us until the end of time. Thankfully, liberals and actors don't get this same strict scrutiny because then half of Hollywood would be condemned and shamed and kicked out altogether. A good example of this is Robert Robert Downey Jr., the actor, who also had a hard time with addiction 20 or so years ago. But I wonder if Nicki Swift would be this hard on Robert, because if the left were, Robert Downey Jr. would have never gone on to become even more successful later in life, like when he started playing Iron Man over 10 years ago, which resulted in numerous appearances throughout the franchise, which ended up creating the most successful film franchise in history, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But according to Nicki Swift logic, Robert Downey Jr. is just an addict, and he doesn't deserve praise for recovering. So instead, we should be scorning him endlessly, even if he did in fact change and come up and do better.
Lindell doesn't just hawk pricey pillows. The sleep guru has jumped into an entirely new field, acting and filmmaking. But Lindell has a strict code when choosing his projects. He told The Hollywood Reporter, "I don't get into things for the money. I get into them if the message is right." So, what's the right message? Well, it has a lot to do with pushing religion and right-wing political agendas.
Well, that's pretty rich right there, because I think I can sense Nicki Swift scorning Mike Lindell for making content that fits in with his political agendas and belief systems, and, well, that's a pretty hypocritical thing to chastise the guy for, since, Nicki Swift is doing the exact same thing. Do as I say, not as I do. That is the classic liberal playbook, I guess. Because according to them, Nicki Swift can happily push left-wing bullshit, and they can also low-key attack conservatives in video after video. But once a right-winger like My Pillow Guy funds a right-leaning movie, then boom, he's a propaganda-pushing bigot. Because apparently conservative movies aren't allowed or something? Surely liberal-leaning movies are okay. I mean, that's 90% of what Hollywood makes. But if even one or two right-wing movies attempt to be made, and watch out, you're now committing a high crime, according to them. The other thing I can't stand here is this religion bashing, which happened earlier too. And well, actually, to be specific, liberals like Nicki Swift only have a problem with certain religions, like Christianity, because I'm sure they wouldn't care if Mike Lindell was using his faith if he was, say, into Judaism or Islam. That wouldn't be an issue, but since the guy loves Jesus and believes in God, apparently that's another crime according to the heathens running Nicki Swift, which is another reason why they attacked Chris Pratt previously too. In the end, it's no wonder why this video got such a poor reaction. The fans reacted so bad because Nicki Swift did terrible at presenting this, and that's why they ended up deleting it on YouTube, hiding their failure and shame. And they really should have too, since we're only halfway through their video now and it's already a gosh darn mess. One that we don't even need to explore further because the biasness and bad take of this is already apparent. And if you want to watch the rest on your own, there is a link below. What do you guys think? Does Mike Lindell have a dark side since he apparently dates women and loves God and his country? Or is Nicki Swift just hating on him because they hate Trump and conservatives and Christians too? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button to help support this channel, and we'll see y'all next time.